Kia ora, New Zealand. Welcome to Sweet Chain Live. My name's Matt Drake. This is episode 82. I'm joined this evening, as ever, by my good friend and chairman of Enter DG, Brady Cush. Good evening, Brady. How are you?
Good, Matt. Man, heaps of disc golf being played this weekend. Did you watch any of Des Moines?
I watched a little bit. Yeah, I've watched a little bit. Some pretty exciting stuff going down. And just a week away from Worlds, or less than a week away now from Worlds. So, yes, indeed. Exciting stuff. We've got a little bit of a summary about one of the things that happened at Des Moines a little bit later on. And we're going to be doing something that you love and is very dear to your heart. We're going to be clarifying a rule from the PDGA. So listen out for that. Anyway, we've also got a great show. We've got Hot Scores coming up first up, and then we're going to be talking to Ryan Cambridge from down in Wanaka. He's going to talk to us all about Wanaka disc golf, the confluence last weekend, and his disc golf career so far. Should be a lot of fun. He sticks around for Desert Island Disc Golf. We've also got predictions for both the Cold Snap Open and Worlds coming up, and a few other bits and pieces. So without further ado, we'll get into Hot Scores, and it's down in Invercargill that Russell King puts in the hot score for the week with a -13. Well done to Russell. Up to Dunedin, Barry Van Beek hits 5 under par at Chingford. Brockville, it's Tom McKay who does the business with 7 under par. At the Gardens, Pete McKay hits 5 under par. Number over at Tucker Beach, new name for us, James Thompson hits +2. So well done to James. Over at Lismore, Ben Quinn hits 8 under, and it's 6 under from John Menzies at Ely Point, which is enough for the hot round there. Willie Tratner, familiar face and name, takes out Jelly Park with a 9 under par, and it's Richard Morris with 2 under par and 2 discs with 4 under par, which take out Brooker Ave and Queen's Park Reserve, respectively. Finally, up at Taylor River, Neil Williams hits the best score of the week with an even par up in Blenheim. Brady takes through the north.
Through the north, as ever, starting here in Wellington and the hills. Barrenport, the general, getting it done. Young Ha comes in with a 6 under par for the hot round this week. Out at Hikoikoi at the foreshore, Shannon Garton comes in with a -3 for the hot round. And then up at Harcourt Park, which is very waterlogged at the moment, Roy Grigger and Shannon Garton come in at even for the hot round this week. Up to the mighty Manawatu, Linklater Reserve, Arthur Graham stands alone, 6 under par, takes the hot round this week. And at Topor, Lakeside, Spa Park, Raid OK comes in at even on the red course. Over in Taranaki, Maryland, Samuel Hardall getting it done, 4 under par is the hot round. And up in Tauranga, McLaren's Falls, Paris Halstead comes in this week with a -3. In the Big Smoke up in Auckland, Henderson on the full 20, Cale Perry comes in at 5 under par. And at Woodhill Red, Henry Pearson and Jeremy Mitchell also come in at 5 under par for the hot round this week.
Excellent. Some good disc golf being played up and down the country despite the weather. No disc golf for me recently. Some people know that we're currently in the process of moving our studio to a new facility, and in fact, the whole Sweet Chain operation is upping sticks and moving. And so yes, so from not next week, but the week after, we'll be in a new facility and a new studio, and so that's going to be exciting. You'll see the return of an old favorite. I'll leave you to guess what that is, and so look out for that in a couple of weeks. First up, we had the Cold Snap, not the Cold Snap, that's next weekend. We had Blood Sacrifice at the Confluence, which happened last
Maybe
week.
we'll have to sacrifice you next time and you'll get the tournaments right.
Perhaps I will. Perhaps I will have to. Just having a look at the results that we had from the weekend, in tied second place, is Hemi Fitu and Ryan Cambridge, who we've got waiting in the wings right now, and Jaden Watkinson takes out the tournament with a 5-shot lead over Hemi and Ryan. In the ladies division, Hayley Flintoff takes out the FPO division with a 16-shot lead for Hayley. So without further ado, let's bring in our guest for this evening. So let's say good evening to Ryan Cambridge. Good evening, Ryan.
Hey, mate. Hey, Brady. Hey, everyone watching.
How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. Yourself?
Not bad, thank you. Not bad. Now, last week, we were talking about the confluence and the blood sacrifice at the confluence. Was it a sacrifice? Talk us through your experience of the of the tournament of the weekend.
Well, there wasn't any bloodshed for a start, which was a bit of a shame in a way, but
yeah,
definitely some egos got bashed. That's for sure.
I mean, I was lucky enough to play the confluence course earlier on this year. You very kindly showed me around in sort of January time, and it was pretty overgrown. I'll be honest,
sure.
and it was pretty rugged in places. Lots of fallen trees. You had to watch your step, and marking your lie was pretty tough.
Definitely.
Is it any different from when I came around in January?
Yeah, it's playing heaps different at the moment, actually.
Okay.
There's none of that sort of spring growth. So it's like reasonably clean underfoot. Just not as much, not as many weeds. But yeah, all the sticks and stuff is still there. So we've tried to clear the fairways as much as possible. But yeah, if you miss your line and hit a tree or go off the fairway at any stage, it's pretty hard to get back on.
Were many lost discs?
I think there were a couple that went into the river because the Cadrona has got pretty high, like not too long beforehand. So yeah, as soon as they went in there, there's no getting them back, unless you went to Cromwell or something.
Now, what was it like setting up for? Was this your first tournament experience in like setting it up and like running it? How did that kind of go for a one-day event for yourself?
Not so much for setting it up, because I helped out with like lords and ladies of Lismore and like Moonbase. So I had set up a little bit before, but yeah, I didn't really get too much into the running of it. There was Ed and Coop who did a great job at bringing life to the event, the whole blood sacrifice. They went above and really went crazy on the idea, which was cool. Like to the extent of like dripping, I think, some food dye into the water to try and make it look like blood. So no, that's good.
And then how do you feel finishing? You finished tied second, right? Like, how was your play over the weekend? Is it what you'd expect on your home course, or were you hoping to perform a little better? How was your play?
Personally, I was hoping to perform a little bit better, but as you do at your home course, you kind of want to come out on top. But just couldn't quite put it all together on the day. But yeah,
it seemed pretty tight across the whole kind of top of that MPO division. It really looked as if, going after the first round, you've got a one-shot lead over Hemi and Ollie.
Yeah.
And then going into round two, Jay Watkinson comes back and Ollie has a good round, and Hemi falls away a little bit. You fall away a little bit, and then you both catch up in the on the Sunday. In the afternoon. And so, talk us through that. Must have been a bit of a roller coaster to deal with. It. We tend to see more consistent cards, I guess, from one round to the next.
For sure, and I think that's just the nature of the course. Like, you get a wee bit off your line and hit a tree, and then you're kind of staring down the barrel of a bogey straight away. Whereas, like, if you miss the tree by an inch or so, then you're in for birdie. So it is definitely a game of inches on that course. And if you miss your line, then you're definitely like taking some numbers, which gives you that sort of disparity in or less consistency in rounds. So.
Well, and you and I are no stranger to like competing for the top of the table and that kind of stuff. And we've both been around the place for a little while, and we see the competition getting harder. So
For sure.
what does it take to like win and compete at the top? Like you've been at the top for quite some time, like kind of always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But
Yeah.
like arguably, like you're still like, what do you think separates the like, first place from second? And then also like for you, what keeps you in that top 5 all the time when it comes to events down south?
I think what separates sort of the first from second is probably the putting. Definitely. Yeah, because I personally have been sort of usually pretty happy with my drives, and I usually get off the tee pretty good, but it's usually the putting where I'm sort of get a wee bit, wayward. For sure. Yeah. So I think that's mainly what separates first and second. Yeah.
Well, and then so if you're always so is it the fact that you're clean off the tee? Is that what keeps you in the top 5? Like, what are your strengths on the course that you kind of lean on?
I think I'm just a relatively consistent player. Like I don't go too crazy. Like I don't play too many crazy shots or anything. Like I try and play as smooth as possible, and usually that gives me consistent results. So like I'd be in a relatively good position where I could get a par and sort of avoid getting bogey as much as possible. Like, and I'm not too bothered if I say I get off the tee and I hit a tree or whatever, and that takes birdie out of the question. I'm not too like angry at myself for that. I sort of just change my mindset to play like, oh well, let's play for par now. Like, let's get this sorted.
That's okay. I mean, you mentioned it there, and I think it's a skill that often gets overlooked. Actually, the idea of being able to shift your internal kind of expectation from going for the birdie, which is going to be the default kind of position for the majority of the holes, to going in a matter of seconds. Right? Okay, I'm looking at something different here, and being able to change it and being all right with that. Not being annoyed at yourself or other card mates, and then not carrying it forward into future holes, but switching your mindset and being okay. Is it something that you? It's hard to say practice it. I mean, how do you practice something like that? But what talk us through like what's going through your mind at that point?
Well, for me, it's all about taking my opportunities when they arise. So, like, if I have a great tee shot and I'm in the circle for a putt, then I'll take a shot at the birdie. But if I don't quite make it quite right, then I'm just like, okay, this might not be a birdie, but I'm still happy with the par. Yeah.
So do you think that your style of play suits the kind of rugged courses like Confluence, or do you think it suits a more kind of open, perhaps golf course kind of course? What would you prefer?
Well, to be honest, I think my type of game suits pretty much any course, is like sort of my results show in a way, because I am pretty consistent no matter what event I play, unless don't feel very good about my putting or whatever, something doesn't quite feel right. But most of the time, works out pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, go on, Brady.
No, go ahead.
Oh, because you talked about consistency. I mean, second place at Tucker Beach, tied for second place here. Took 4th at Timaru, 6th at Lismore. I mean, we're consistently seeing kind of top 8 kind of displays from yourself, and so you must be kind of thinking going into future tournaments. And I've seen that Wahitapu's next for you, and then at least in terms of registration, I think it's nationals. There may be ones in between.
Yeah.
There will be ones in between. So what do you think you need to do or practice in order to push that little bit more and get that win? You mentioned the difference between first and second is putting. Is that where the gap is for you?
Well, now that you mention it, not so much that. Well, that alongside. Recently, I've been noticing that I've been having like a really good first round, and then my second round hasn't sort of like I've had a bit of a cold start or whatever. I just struggle to get some birdies off the bat. So there is that sort of mindset I think I have to get around, coming off a like reasonably hot round, going into the second and trying to like keep that going. I think that's the key for me to be doing better at the moment, for sure. Like
I think that's
at the weekend at the Confluence, I shot like a -3 first round and then a +1 second round, and then stopped for some lunch, had a bit of a break, had some food or whatever. 3 under third round, and then even fourth round. So there's definitely something that I need to look into there. But yeah, it's just working through that, I suppose, mentally.
Does it break the flow up then, having that kind of break in between? I mean, you played 9 holes, then you've got kind of. Did you just morph into the second round, or was it a case of there was a break for everybody, you came together, and then you started again? What was the schedule like?
There was a small break in between.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we came back and then swapped the cards up and went back out and played again.
That's interesting.
So it wasn't a huge break.
That's interesting that you've got this kind of, at least this time to kind of pause and possibly at that point even look at scores, which you might not have done if you were at hole 9 in of an 18 hole round.
For sure. I don't like looking at scores at all.
Yeah, but you may have looked at the scores after the first round, right? Or at least you would have known about them because they would have changed the cards around, presumably, and so you would have found out. So I don't know. Does that play a part? I mean, where do you see you say you don't like looking at scores as you go around?
Yeah, and I think it definitely does play a part, just for that reason, like knowing that you have played well, and I don't know, maybe I relax a bit too much, or
Brady, what do you do? Do you like looking at scores as you go around?
Oh gosh, no, I hate it.
You hate it?
Like it's one of those. Well, like I've been on cards, like I've played with Ryan and that kind of stuff. And normally, even if I'm keeping score, like I'll keep the score and I won't show scores on the scorecard, and like I'll just keep playing because like Ryan kind of touched upon, I like to kind of stay in that flow. And Ryan and I have had some great practice rounds together. I remember when we practiced for Southern Smash, like we're both playing great, and then like it comes to like tournament time, and we're all like, "What happened here?" And so that's speaking of like Southern Smash, like that's nationals next year. So, like, and that's definitely got some like through the woods is definitely tight. And if you hit a tree and get off your line, it's not so hot. Are you going to change up your like game plan going into that? Are you going to try to like work on stuff or like play more come summer? What's going to change between last year and like this year coming?
I think I'm going to try and play a little bit less, actually, to be honest.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because there was a period of time where I'd just be playing every day, and I don't know, it was good. I enjoyed it, but I kind of needed a bit of a break in between there. Yeah. And now that I've started taking a few days off, like from playing disc golf for a bit, and get into it a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting mental thing. I mean, but put your comments in below. I'd be keen to know what people think. Do you like to follow scores? Are you one of those people who like, right, okay, I did this and now I've got to do that? Or are you someone who, like Brady and Ryan, like to kind of hide away from it? Because on both the PDGA app and UDIS, you can hide your kind of ongoing score so that you only put the scores in for the hole, you hit next, whatever, and you know it doesn't show you how you're performing. Yeah, honestly, I used to think it was a thing, like, and that I get really kind of like it's in my head and stuff. But I don't think I play any different, honestly, and honestly because I work it out as I go. Like I'm in between holes. I'll be thinking about it, right? And that's probably the wrong thing to do. It's probably why I'm playing at the level I am. But the it's something that I think it doesn't actually. I would say it does help towards the end of tournaments, knowing what your position is, right? So when you're on hole 16 of the final round, and you might be in contention, or at least you might be going for that spot in the ladder that you were aiming to get after the penultimate round, to go and say, right, okay, what do I need to do on these holes at a minimum to defend your position or to attack the position you want?
For sure, and that's what happened at Tucker's recently. Like I saw that I think it was about 4 holes to go, and I knew I had a bit of a cold start, so I knew Jaden was sort of probably in front of me, but I wasn't exactly sure. So yeah, that's when I get my phone out and have a look at the scores and see what I needed to do to try and push.
Yeah, and you hope it's kind of in line with your expectation, right? Or better than.
Yeah. Because you have some feeling, definitely.
Yeah, of course. I mean, everybody, even on practice round, has a fair idea of like what's going on. So what's next for you then? You've got Wahitapu that you're registered for in October, end of October. Is that going to be your next event? Do you think?
Probably not. Not sure when Moonbase is this year, but hoping to do that. But yeah, probably not anything else before that.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned taking some time off and stuff, and then a pretty busy summer.
For sure.
Coming in, right? We've got 3 massive events in February, March. And then the usual suspects like Heislander, etc. That's going to be hitting the schedule. I'm sure as we go through, and then I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bunch of other ones that we haven't been advertised yet that pop into the schedule.
For sure.
Excellent. So look, you've Wahidapu. You're gonna want to. There was something about this tournament that I looked up last year. What did I look up last year? Last year's Waitapu from memory, and then I looked at the how you did.
Yeah.
I sense, looking at the kind of positions and the kind of some of the analytics that the data analytics team have given me, that you were a little bit disappointed with your performance of Wahitaku last year. So you're looking, is that fair? And will you be looking for a bit of revenge?
Yeah, I suppose so. It was pretty tricky conditions. That first day, if I remember rightly, it was pretty soaked. But yeah, hopefully it's not like that again, and I can have some dry play and hopefully push for that top 4, or I think they do a Super 5 or 6 or something.
The Super 6 shootout, isn't it?
Yeah,
Super 6 shootout, indeed. Excellent.
Well, I think I've missed out on it by one spot both years. So
last year was 7th, and our data analytics team was tipping you to win that tournament at the time. So it's interesting. Jay Watkinson finished 19th in that tournament last year, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. It's going to be an exciting battle, whatever happens. There's a bit of a clash there. I really have to say, Wahitapu is probably the first one of a bunch of tournaments I'm really looking forward to, in terms of seeing a group of quality young players come together and really shoot it out. I mean, we've had lots of tournaments happen, but few where everybody's played. Right, everybody's been on like this in the same tournament, and so that should be quite exciting. Excellent.
For sure.
Right, let's move on to Desert Island Disc Golf. So this is part of the show. The premise here is that Ryan is stranded on a desert island. There is a disc golf course on this desert island, and he has been stranded with 3 of his favorite discs and 3 of his favorite card mates. Now, his card mates can be alive or dead, real or fantasy, seasoned pros, or people he knows. Nailed it. And so, Ryan, what are your discs? What did you bring with you to the desert island?
First up, you can't go without trusty Envy.
Yes. Yes. I love
I
it
don't
when
know.
people bring MVP along.
Fell in love with this disc the first time I threw it and just haven't looked back. Unfortunately, this one isn't my favorite one. My favorite one got stolen by a little kid at Lismore.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Just ran off with it before I could get to the hole.
That is savage.
But this one started to beat in pretty much like the other one. So, yeah, it's starting to throw really nice.
Okay. And is that in, you got that in Neutron or is that in Electron?
This is Neutron.
Neutron. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I've also got
so Neutron
one as well.
The Neutron is the equivalent of Gold Line or ESP or Star Plastic, I guess.
Yeah, but this one's just getting to the stage where it can put it on a little bit of hyzer and flip it up to flat, and sometimes it will even right to the right. So
wow,
getting really workable, which is real nice.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, and it was worked very well for last year at Worlds. So yeah.
Yep.
What else have you got?
I've got a Star Wraith as well.
Star Wraith.
Yeah, it's been so well used that I've rubbed the stamp right off.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like that's a well-loved Wraith right there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can get probably my max distance with this disc. So yeah, just love it.
Excellent. Excellent.
And then the last one, I can't go past my Glow Tui.
Glow Tui. See, that's your putter, then, yeah.
Yeah.
You putt with the glows?
I used to, but I don't so much anymore. Kind of switched away from them. Okay. But I think I'm gonna go back. Okay.
And why glow and not atomic or cosmic for those people who might be wondering?
Well, this run of Glow Tui seems to be a lot more stable than any of the other ones. Like this run in particular as well. Like I've thrown a lot of other Glow Tuis which just seem to turn over a lot more, but this one seems to really hold a lot of like still release it on hyzer and it'll flip up to flat, but it will just ride for ages and just so much glide.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Awesome. A bit of an orange theme other than the glow going on. Is that a theme in the bag or just coincidence for those discs?
Just a coincidence. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Got lots of different colors. Lolly Scramble.
Lolly Scramble. Fantastic. So who have you got on your card with you? Who are you taking with you?
I can't really go past Cooper Solis, Dom Hayden, and Camber Cogren.
Excellent.
Solid group of guys right there.
Three fellow Wanakans joining you on your desert island. Fantastic. And you have a great time, I'm sure. Good stuff. Excellent. Look, we've got we've also got a quick fire round.
Cool.
So I shall find my questions. So we got the family-friendly front nine, which is the same questions every week for every person, and a safari back nine, which is different questions each week for everybody, and takes the form of this or that. So here we go. What's your name?
Ryan Cambridge.
Where were you born?
Wanaka.
And where do you live now?
Wanaka.
What's your PDGA number?
158728.
And how many years have you been playing?
2.
And your favorite course?
Paradise.
Your favorite disc?
Ooh, Glow Tui.
Your favorite MPO player?
Can't go past Simon.
And your favorite FPO player?
Kristen Tatar.
Lovely stuff. Excellent. Thank you so much. Brady, back nine.
Let's start with dessert or entree.
Dessert.
Sunrise or sunset?
Ooh. Sunset.
Snow tramping or ice climbing?
Ice climbing.
Hot lunch or cold lunch?
Hot lunch.
Natural out of bounds or man-made out of bounds?
Natural. 100%.
9-hole course or 18-hole course?
18.
1-day event or 3?
3.
Nationals champion or tours champion?
Nationals.
And my favorite, do you run it or do you lay it up?
Always run it.
Right. Fantastic. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Look, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been a lot of fun, and look, very best of luck as we won't see you on tour for a while. Wahitapu looks like it could be the next one, so we'll look out for your scores then. All the best, and see you soon.
Thanks for having me on. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Ryan. Thanks for coming.
Cheers, Ryan.
What?
Lovely stuff. Let's get you on the right side. Excellent. So look, Ryan's really been kind of always there or thereabouts for like in any tournament that he's at, right? He's always in that kind of top 8. He's always in that conversation, lead card, chase card. Won't be too long before he wins something.
Yep. Oh yeah, he's got that like Calvin Heimberg, like always in the mix kind of deal. You know, like I honestly think about him a little bit now, like Joel Freeman too, of like one of those of like, why does this name keep popping up? Why is he always in the top 10? And like that, yeah, his weekend's coming. Him and I have had great battles in the past. You know, like we had that playoff for nationals, not this past year, but the year before. So yeah, you know, like it's great to see. And I'm still shocked that, you know, like he's playing as well as he is, you know, like 2 years on. But to be fair, when he talks about his card mates, Cooper Salas and the Silver Fox himself, Dom Hayden, like they have such a great crew in Wanaka. Always a pleasure to go hang out with them and play some disc golf. So yeah, they got a great crew down there. So no wonder after 2 years, they're playing as well as they do.
Yeah, I mean, and he was very kind enough to show me around Lismore, Ely, and Confluence with Dom when I went down there. Hit all 3 of them in one day. That was a good day. And Ryan played outstanding for the whole day. Hit like I don't know, some silly score under par, and I was there just struggling to get the so yeah. But anyway, right. Let's move on. Some news has happened. Nationals registration is open.
Dun, dun, dun.
National registration is open. I have registered, Brady. I have registered for nationals. I am in. I'm stoked. One of 112 people who have so far registered. So that's exciting.
Pause for a second. You Wellington, have registered for nationals in like wave 1 or whatever they're calling it.
Yeah, it was. Wave 1.
Have I missed? How did you register for nationals already? I can't even register for nationals already.
Okay. So registration for nationals opened on the 21st of August, which was last Sunday, for Disc Golf South members, divisional winners of 2022 Smash and 2022 Nationals, and top 64 men from the 2021-22 standings. Now, I'm nowhere near the top 64, as you well know. Not least because I switched divisions a couple of times. And I didn't win any divisions. But what I could do is join Disc Golf South. So I did. About a week before, I signed up for Disc Golf South, paid the entry fee to join Disc Golf South for the year. And that enabled me to register for nationals. So I got in, which I'm pleased about. Because it means I'm not having to rush around, right? So open registration, international players opens tomorrow at 1, and then on Sunday at 5 p.m. Is open registration. But it means that I'm not having to rush around on Sunday. I can take it easy. My place is secured. So I mean that's the thing, right? And I don't know. And I appreciate your position, your NZDG position here. But what are your thoughts on this? That if you can join, I paid $15 to join Disc Golf South, and I don't see it as money wasted at all, because even if it doesn't sell out, I could have got in easily, because at the end of the day, the guys down in Invercargill will do a great job of bringing through juniors and ladies and all sorts of stuff, and so to support them is good. $15 feels to me not unreasonable. to pay to not have the stress or kind of having to click the button really quick at 5 o'clock on Sunday, or worried that if I'm not at a computer or whatever, then I'll be able to get in. And so it seemed like the right decision. You know, and the kind of, and Disc Golf South get a bit of money for this year to help them do whatever they want to do. It does open the question, which says, well, I'm kind of paying for the privilege to register early, right? And is that right? Is that right that that's done? Don't know. What do you think?
Well, I have to remove myself a little bit. You know, like I am chair of NZDG, and so, you know, like there is, I have to be careful about what I say. And let's just say, like, I'm interested to see how registrations are going. You know, that I myself, when I ran nationals this past year, you know, like used Disc Golf Scene, which seems to be kind of widely adopted at this stage by many of the tournaments. When it comes to that, though, I know that there are hurdles and headaches that come with using Disc Golf Scene. So I'm interested to see how widely adapted that is going. And yeah, you know, like I'm also interested to see how registrations and waves of registrations are going forward. So, you know, like whether it's a nationals, whether it's a North or South Island championships, whether it's a one-day event such as the like blood sacrifice at the Confluence. Yeah, you know, like I definitely think more discussion and more, not necessarily like unity, but just a like level of consistency across. You know, like as we grow, you know, like more people want to register, and like you said, there's stress that comes involved with that. You know, like I know a lot of local Wellington players who've missed out on a lot of the like tour events around the country because they haven't been able to register in time, because you know these registrations will open 3 to 4 months ahead, which is incredible. But at the same time, they can't book time off that far out, so they can't, you know, do they register taking the risk that they may have to work or not work or be available on that weekend? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it's going forward. Which at this point I can also say, I do know that there is a big roundtable. Bray has already been super proactive as the tour director this year for NZDG. And I know that he has invited all of the tour directors from the past year, or that he can get a hold of, to come sit at this roundtable. So I'm looking forward to that discussion and to kind of see, yeah, you know, like, will registration come up? Will we talk about that? You know, like, will it be a point of, you know, like, yeah, what do other TDs around the country think? So yeah, I'm interested to see how it's going. And I mean, honestly, congratulations, you know, like, well done on registering, you know, like, congratulations to the 112. You can sit easy and relax. I see that Ryan himself is a winner. So like, well done to him as well. So yeah, you know, like, but again, I'm looking forward to nationals regardless. So yeah, it should be a great event. Like you said, Disc Golf South puts on wonderful events down south with the Smash. I was super lucky and super grateful to go down last year and see the course. So yeah, I'm hoping and looking forward to getting down again this year.
That's right. I mean, even as we've been talking, someone's registered, so it's up to 113 now, which is fantastic. Yeah, look, I've used Disc Golf Scene before as a tournament director, and yeah, look, I quite like it because it does a lot of the admin. There's a fee for it, which we used it for the Women's Global event, and at first I felt a little bit kind of like, you know, putting an extra fee on to use this registration format, I thought was a little bit kind of like, but then nobody mentioned it as being a problem, right? Nobody mentioned it, and I thought maybe at the Women's Global event, I think generally the feeling was that there was what you got for your money was pretty good. So you know, a couple of extra bucks on administration fee to register isn't a problem. Yeah, I mean, I guess that, look, I guess there's two things. One is that there's two things for me. Let me try and articulate them properly. One is, should you limit or should you give preferential registrations to people who live in the area or who are members of the local club for a major event, right? So one of the majors I'm talking about now, for a regular tour series event, perhaps not. Perhaps it doesn't matter. And then second, how do you ensure that, like me, who's been to Invercargill once, and twice, no, once, it's just once, and I've been able to join Disc Golf South, and I look forward to receiving their newsletters or whatever they do.
Oh, do you get a bag tag? Oh, can you fight them down?
I don't know. We'll find out. But it seems odd that, like, I could do that. But then, you know, I guess as far as Disc Golf South concerned, they're like, well, yeah, look, if you want to join, then join. Pay your money, and we'll use that money to put new courses in the ground, or you know, encourage more juniors to play, or whatever. All of which are very good things that I would support. And for $15, I didn't think it was too bad, especially when the cost of the tournament's like 150 when you've added all the other stuff on. So for a 10% increase, in order to a 10% increase to the cost of the entry to secure my entry, so I'm not kind of fluffing about, then great. Be interested to know, did anyone else do what I did and join Disc Golf South in order to be able to register for nationals early? Did anyone else do it? I mean, you can admit, I'm admitting it. It's not. I don't feel bad about it. I think that it would be, you know, it's if you did it, I'd be interested to see how many people did. Although looking down the list of invites, we've got a few international players, all ladies, because the international men doesn't open until tomorrow. But we've got a couple of international ladies coming along, which is going to be fantastic. We've got Cassie Sweeten and Tusi Frinquin coming over from Australia. So that's going to be...
it's Tosh.
Is it Tosh? My apologies.
Yeah.
My apologies. Tosh Frequin coming over from Australia, and Cassie, and then a couple of other ladies in the FA1 division. So it's going to be very, very exciting. Lots of Wellingtonians entered, which is fantastic to see as well. And it's starting to fill up. Man. Love tournaments like this. Yeah.
I didn't know. Man, Cassie's coming over. So she's 5-time reigning and current reigning, if I'm not mistaken, Australian champion for FPO. So she's one of, and arguably the best disc golfer female-wise to come out of Australia. She's been Team Innova like long ago, back in the her and Hemi have been teammates for ages now. The fact that her and Tosh went to compete in the what's now become the Throw Pink Challenge, which used to be like the U.S. Women's Challenge. So, yeah, Cassie's a longtime disc golfer. She's absolutely great people. If she's coming over, I would not be surprised to see either Patty Robinson, who's been over before, Cassie's partner, Jarrah Sweeten, Jazz. He's a great player from Australia as well. There's also Casper's come over before. He's played down in Paradise as well. There's a few Aussies in that kind of like Melbourne contingent in and around, and good mates with Cassie. Who might be coming over. So, Cassie, I'm super excited that you're coming over. Big shout out to you. Super looking forward to that. Well done by Disc Golf South on getting some Aussies coming down.
Yeah, and we say there's a few people. Braves mentioned that there was about 8 people all up who did it. Now, my feeling is that perhaps more people will do it if this kind of thing is done in the future to kind of secure a place. And, you know, so the question then becomes, well, if this is done for South Island Champs, not sure if it will, and then it's done for Topor, I'm going to end up being a member of like every disc golf club in the country in order to secure things. It's going to cost me a fortune. It's going to be, I'll be eating out of house and home. This is outrageous. So
yeah, I was going to say, didn't you just buy a house? Like, you might have wanted to like wait on that if you're going to be joining all these clubs.
I might have to remortgage my only recently bought a house to in order to do that. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one. I think it's giving preference to local players to a major is the bit that I'm stuck on, right? And so, yeah, I don't have a problem with the top 64 or anything like that. That's exactly what it should be. And then the ladies and juniors and international players totally agree with all of that. And so, but it's giving them to the local players, and the fact that I can just game the system, right? And you might call it gaming the system, or it might be exactly what Disc Golf South wanted, because now, according to Bray, they've got 8 people signed up who otherwise wouldn't. That's another bunch of money for them that is going to go towards the good stuff that they're doing down there. Yeah, and Richard makes a good point about manually using disc golf, manually doing registration or using disc golf scene, right? It just takes away all those spreadsheets and tracking payments and doing all that kind of gumph. So yeah, sorry, Brady.
I was going to say you'd be surprised at how much you probably still have to do. Disc golf scene helps, but is not perfect.
Yeah, of course.
No, but yeah, I'm definitely interested. Tournaments and that kind of stuff, and it's definitely a much bigger conversation when it comes to, like, well, what's the purpose of a tournament? And like, is registration and tiered registration, like, what purpose is that serving? Like, how is that adding value to your players? And the idea of, like, it's been spoken of, I think we've spoken of it in the past, the idea of, and especially like, say, for nationals, right, of that you want all of the best players, arguably from around the country and overseas, to be competing in that event, right?
And that's what the tiered registration allows, right? So they've already catered for that. Yep, agree.
Yeah, and so like that idea. But if you have, say, because this came up in the past too, right? North Island champs at Bethel's, there was a limited run of players. I think it was capped out around 100, 110, something like that, for the Bethel's tournament. And they allowed, it was North Island champs, and they allowed Auckland members to become, or like register early. But like, Auckland's a massive city. Arguably, I do know at the time the club itself was rather small in registration, so it wasn't seen of like selling out, if that makes sense. But the idea of upcoming South Island champs is in Christchurch, arguably one of the largest clubs in the country.
That's right.
And so, like, if they get preferential treatment, will that event sell out before anyone else gets to play? And then it's like, okay, well then, like, and then it's almost becomes like a local tournament and not a national tournament. So yeah, like, there's interesting, like, kind of growth in the game and like who you're targeting with your event, your tournament, your major, etc. that kind of starts to come into play with, like, why and how you're hosting this event and how people can register for it.
Yeah, right. I think it's an interesting conversation. It's certainly one that I don't think we've kind of we've finished off. So I was pretty pleased that all that went through. I was able to casually register on Sunday last week without having to worry about being sniped or any of that kind of stuff on it. But saying that, only less than half the spaces have sold. There's 250 spots available. And there's international players that opens on tomorrow, plus a bunch of people who won't have who are eligible but haven't registered yet. So I suspect that will probably rise to, I don't know, maybe 125, 130, which leaves about 120 players to play fastest finger first on Sunday at 5 p.m. And there's a bunch of players that I know, even in Team Sweet Chain. We've had a chat about this, and we there's nearly everybody who's playing. A lot of Team Sweet Chain have made it in already and been able to register, but some of them haven't. So we shall see what happens. Let us know your thoughts on this. This is it's a bit of a hot topic and an interesting one, and certainly an interesting way to do it. Right. Let's move forward.
Speaking of gaming the system, did you want you had some rules thing that came up at Des Moines that you wanted to discuss? Yeah.
So at the Des Moines Challenge recently, let's just watch what happened, shall we? Let's find the thing. We're going to find this one. So this is a preview of hole 12 at the Des Moines Challenge. This is the final round, and this is hole 12. We'll watch all of hole 12, and you can kind of see how it plays.
Either way, on to hole 12, par 3, 260. There's a double Mando players have to navigate. From there, it is a pretty straight shot, but there is OB down the hill to the right, and any OB or missed mandatories will go to a drop zone.
So double Mando.
Simon with the lone birdie. Previous hole. Oh, pulls.
Very high. And did that even make the mandatory?
Looked like it kicked right. Made the Mando.
That was pulled very hard left, and so is this one. Good break near the rocks.
As an aside, I would not be taking a side after this shot.
C1 for Robert.
All right, you have time before Nationals to work on it. You'll need it off C1.
I like this.
Very nice shot for Joel.
So you can see the idea, right? You got this Mando here, and Simon's gone high left, and it's kind of kicked back. And we'll have a look in a minute exactly what's that. This is what I'd try to be doing, like exactly what this kid's doing here.
Mm-hmm.
You know he's throwing a putter, right, Matt?
Oh yeah. I've got no chance of doing 260 with a putter, but still. So what's happening here is that after the Mando, the disc has hit a tree, and then it's crossed back through the plane, the mandatory
Well, it looks
plane,
like they have,
which is
it
a
looks like they
vertical
have the debate
vertical
of,
line
even if
that
you make the
extends
Mando,
infinitely
if it goes
upwards,
back
and then at 90
around,
degrees to the
you missed it.
Mando from the
So
T-box,
you would have to then re-go through the Mando.
so it's kind of looped back on itself, and as a result,
You get
he's
what I mean?
missed the Mando.
Yeah, so that kicks from the fair side of the mandatory
Yep.
back behind the line of the mandatory, which means that Simon has missed the mandatory.
Yes.
And is determined by the group.
And
that
that's the
he's
new
gone
ruling.
back
And
and
this
through
is
it.
exactly what I
That is
knew
a
was going
new
to
rule
happen when they
implemented
brought
this
in this
season.
new ruling, when they changed the, because
And
this just
this
changed
is
this
one of the
year.
easiest holes in the
Yeah.
Because it came up a lot. There was a lot of talk and discussion in and around this with Paige Pierce at, was it Worlds, I think?
Where it missed the
Whereas
Mando
the triple
completely, but it
Mando-
looked like it. Yeah.
Right. You know, like it missed it completely depending on what, you know, like, or it made it depending on what camera angle you did. Now you showed me before the show, you brought up like an infographic. Can you bring that up again?
Yes, I can.
So
Yes.
that like it'll help people see it.
So this is off UDisc, right? So if you want to know where we are, this is Disc Golf Rules Explained Mandatories off the UDisc blog called Release Point. And this was released in March, shortly before the rule was changed, or the rule change came into effect. And so what we can see here is, and Simon's disc it's a mirror image, so you have to imagine it's a mirror image here, right? So you've got your Mando Lego tree here, and this is what his disc did. It kind of, and if you imagine where this disc changes direction is a tree, it hits this tree, comes back and crosses this plane, which is at 90 degrees to the to the tee box and the tree. So it's kind of and looped back in. You can see an alternative path there where you just miss it completely, right? And that is now out. That's now classed as being out of bounds, or you've missed the Mando. Brady, talk us through the reason why this rule change came into effect, because it's bound to happen in a tournament in New Zealand. It's bound to happen to someone. It may have even happened to somebody since March. Talk us through why this is the rule.
Well, one of the things that there was a bit of confusion in the old mandatory rule over typically marking the disc. And so the idea of, because how the old rule stated that like the mandatory was, I think it was 90 degrees from the tee pad, like perpendicular to the tee pad, which meant that, so in this hole is a great example, right? Like it goes out pretty straight and then finishes kind of hard or hard-ish to the right. And so like that idea of a lot of the times, like these mandatories are used to kind of dictate how the shot is thrown. As you saw, there were 3 forehands and 1 backhand. And so that idea of off the tee, the first mark that you are like throwing towards is the mandatory. So the idea of like what that kind of allows, until you pass the mandatory, it can give you a beneficial lie, because your A4 sheet of paper where you can legally like mark your stance in your lie is away from the mandatory, which in this case arguably would put you like to the left and like into the middle of the fairway, rather than say behind, say, the tree. Like say you hit the mandatory tree and fall short, right? Normally you would mark it towards the basket, which is how the rule now reads. Before, you would mark it kind of towards your mandatory, which would could potentially give you more space to maneuver around trees. I arguably didn't really like this rule coming through because of this reason itself. And I always saw it this way as a plane. But unfortunately, by defining the plane, they were just trying to kind of clean up how it was talked about and the wording of it. And by defining it as a plane, but unfortunately you have these edge case scenarios. Arguably, I think they've just released, not 48 hours ago, the new rule changes for this coming year. I like that the PDJ is always reviewing this stuff. But yeah, they need to clean up of once it successfully passed or navigated the mandatory, that the plane no longer is in play, if that makes sense. So this scenario doesn't happen. It's he successfully did it, made it through, he got a bad kick back, it's kind of being double penalized for it. Ryan brought it up before of oh, does he prefer man-made or natural out of bounds? Simon's in the rubbish, man. He's got to scramble from there. So having him do a stroke penalty and come back to the middle of the fairway is why? What are your thoughts on this? Did it make sense to you? Do you like this new rule change?
Yeah, I do, and I think it's the right thing to do, and I also think it was applied correctly. Now, there's two things that I'd point out. The first one is that if you imagine the whole point of mandatories is to try and keep people away from places they don't want the disc to be thrown, right? And so what the course designer is saying is, we don't want you to throw a disc. We don't want a disc to go through this area here for whatever reason, right? It's up to them to decide what it might be. It doesn't have to be dangerous necessarily, but they've just decided that they don't want a disc to go through there. So if you throw a disc and it goes through there, then it's missed the Mando. The other point I'd make is that it makes it so that there isn't any dispute over whether you've hit the Mando or not if you can't see where the disc has gone off the tee, right? So if your card can't see where it goes, then you wouldn't necessarily know whether it hit the Mando or not. So you can look based on where it's lied as to whether it kind of comes back or not. And I think that kind of helps in those situations.
Yeah. Like you said, it's good. We have kind of a good comment that talks about the restricted space and that kind of stuff. And you bring up that good point of there are mandatories in places that you can't see. So that idea of, did it break the Mando? Did it not? That there's that kind of stuff at play. So this helps with blind mandatory, if that makes sense. But I would not be surprised if coming up in the future, if one, there's wording changing in and around this rule. And I also wouldn't be surprised if going forward, I know that it's been a hot topic with us in the past, but the idea of officials on the course and the idea that potentially at these larger events that you have a spotter who is dedicated to monitoring, did you make or not make the Mando?
Yeah. But there was a guy with a flag. So there was a guy with a flag, which kind of, he waved it to show that you made it through. But of course, he's only going to make it. He's only going to wave his flag when it's obvious what's happened, and you can probably see that. Let's say from that hole, you can probably see what happens anyway. So he's certainly not going to make a call on one where it's uncertain from what's been seen as to what happened. So I don't know. So anyway, if you come across any mandatories in future tournaments, this is the ruling, and so just be careful about where you throw your disc. Don't throw something super overstable or something that's going to skip back and potentially miss your Mando. I can't think there's too many Mandos.
There'll be some coming up. I know, Bros for Change is pretty notorious for having Mandos of light poles and that kind of stuff to keep people honest. What I can say is, any TDs out there, if you are marking your Mandos or just general out of bounds, please don't use red Lego bricks. They do kind of confuse us colorblind guys, because I didn't notice that Lego brick in the photo on the right. Just in case anyone's wondering. I'm like, why is it turning around? I can see the blue plane that it broke and it didn't make the Mando. And then I'm like, oh, there's a brick in the middle.
Yeah.
I got it now.
That's right. And also make sure that you if you are a TD and you're marking out your Mandos, put in a drop zone. That just avoids any kind of dispute or where do I tee for any of that, which we don't need. It makes it a lot easier for players. Put in a drop zone, put it next to the Mando, just a couple of flags like they've done in the video, and just make it easy for people to figure out what's done. Right. Anyway, that's enough of that. Right. What are we moving on to next? Predictions. We've got 2 tournaments coming up that we're going to be giving our predictions on. The first one is the Cold Snap Open, which is the final. Is it the final one? I don't know.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
The final of the Dunedin trio of events, which is open, which it takes place this weekend. And so, Brady, what are your predictions for? Let me get the lineup up on the screen so that we can see what's going on and who's playing. Let's have your predictions, please, for the Cold Snap Open. There we go.
Well, I mean, of course, you can't go past the Stout brothers. They'll definitely be in the top 5.
Yeah.
I guess I'll pick a couple dark horses here. So rounding out my top 5, besides the Stout brothers, Isaac Sassanuma Howard is always a threat on these courses, so I'd love to see him in the top 5 and play well. Tom McKay is also no stranger to playing well in Dunedin. I would like to see him do well, especially in MPO, but I can't go past none other than the Southpaw himself, Stephen Reed. I'd love to see the lefty play real well coming up here for the final. How about you, Matt? Who do you got?
Yeah, so a couple of names just for everybody to be aware of. Andrew Popham came second at the first of these events, and Quinn Latter came second in the last of these events. So they've both got history of being able to do it. It's a one-day event, so I'm tipping Trent Hogg to play well. Always plays well at one-day events, and also got to support Team Sweet Chain's Andrew Fleming as well, of course, in his hometown. But I can't look past Levi to take out the win, probably followed by Ethan, and then I think there'll be a bunch of people behind. That's in MPO, and then in big advanced field as well. That's great. That's great to see. In the ladies, bigger ladies division as well. What do you think here? Eilish is coming down from Christchurch.
Yeah, I'd like to see a battle between the Browns. Like Suze Brown's been playing real well, and like same with Casey. But I think I'm going to go with Mama Brown on this one. She'll be my dark horse for the ladies division.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll give her the nod for the win.
Played fantastic. Played fantastic at the Women's Global event up in Wellington. Played very well. Right. Next up, let's move on to Worlds, which is coming up in a couple of days' time, really. I mean, does it start Wednesday of next week? Let's just bring out the lineup. Starts on the 30th, so that is Tuesday. So that'll be Wednesday for us, Wednesday morning, if you want to watch, if you want to stay up and watch that. So we've got a friend of the show, Scott Stokely, is entered. We'll be following what he does. Let's have a look at this end. Right. So what are your thoughts? Who do you think is going to do the business here?
I gotta say it's going to be a repeat of the European Open. I would put my money's on Eagle and Paul to kind of pull away. If Ricky's feeling well, don't get me wrong, he's definitely going to be in the mix, but I know that he was struggling with a bit of an injury here for like Des Moines and for Deglow just before, not Deglow, Ledgestone that happened just before this. So yeah, I'd love to see Paul and Ricky pull away. I'd love Paul to get his 6th. I really would. Love the guy. Think he's doing great stuff. I honestly think that he's got too much going on off the course. And so hopefully, he's starting to push for the win here. And he always performs super well under pressure on a grand stage. But yeah, Eagle's rested. So it's one of those that to see him come kind of off of his injury recovery at the European Open is just crazy. What are you thinking?
So look, Macbeth always plays well at Worlds, right? And so you've got to look at him. Rick has got history here. He won the Dynamic Discs Open when it was held here, the regular Elite Series event earlier on in the year. Simon Lizotte came second at this event earlier on in the year, or not this event, but the Deglo on the same courses. And it suits Simon's game in being relatively open. So I think that, yeah, really, I think you're looking at between those three, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if it was down to Simon, Ricky, and Paul, and then probably, as we've been seeing this year, maybe a surprise. Someone who doesn't expect to be there finds themselves there, right? And there's plenty of names that could happen. That could happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's Emerson Keith in there. He's had 2 Worlds performances in a row where he's battling in the top 5, man. So, like, I would not be surprised to see, yeah.
Totally. He always seems to bring it out. Do like Emerson Keith, throws a lot of latitude. That's good to see. And so maybe we'll see Emerson Keith there. And what a final round that would be. He does tend to heat up early at Worlds and then needs to try and hang on. So we'll see how see how he goes. And obviously Matteo, I'd like to see play well, just because I think he's a good character on the course as well. Right, and let's have a quick look at the ladies division. This is going to be incredibly we'll get there eventually, I promise. This is going to be incredibly tight, I would have thought, at the top. What do you think?
It's like you can't look past Kristen Tatar. She's absolutely destroying the American women when it comes to like the tour. She had like a 9-stroke lead after the first round. She had a couple hiccups in second and third, but still pulled away to win by like 3 or 4 in the end. Yeah. Paige has kind of been off again. I feel like she's kind of fallen into that pole. She's got too much going on off the course. There was an altercation already with her trying to warm up for Worlds. My dark horse, I'm going to put on to Owen Scoggins. She's played super consistent all year, and she's been just off. If you've watched her on any of the MPO or the FPO coverage this year, like everything is clicking. It's just kind of like 1 or 2 holes will kind of creep up on her each round. And so, yeah, it's one of those, if she can stay clean, I would not be surprised if she's not in the mix of the top 3. And honestly, to be fair, the same moment, Missy Gannon's been playing super great in this business end of the season, as it were. So yeah, definitely got some good stuff going there.
Yeah.
Who are you tipping, Matt?
So yeah, obviously, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a tight at the top between Kristen and Paige. I think that's going to be. I have to go. I have to put the nod to Paige, though. I think it's going to be 6 times, and so I think that she'll play well and she'll win. Owen Scoggins, fair shout. I do think maybe it's a bit too. It's not woody enough. I don't know for Owen. I think she thrives more on shorter, more technical courses where the putter is perhaps more important. And so we'll see. My outside pick for here is Ella Hansen. Played really well earlier on in the year at the Dynamic Disc Open. I think she finished tied third. So I wouldn't be surprised if she can repeat that, or even go 1 or 2 better.
I was going to say, honestly, they're both going to be hotly contested. It's great to watch Worlds every year. There's so much going on, so many storylines coming throughout the year. A bunch of Europeans over this year, which is great to see. Like Evelina, I know, can throw on those big courses. Haley King's got quite the arm for the FPO field, so she can score on those longer holes as well. So yeah, Paige and Kristen don't quite have that edge like they used to when in distance. So yeah, it'll be definitely a great battle to watch.
So that's going to be available. That'll be on Wednesday morning. That'll kick off. And so Kansas, better than me how far Kansas is ahead of time. Probably 8 hours ahead, 9 hours ahead.
No, more than that. It's currently. Let's see. They're going to be Detroit, so it's there. Well, because it's not ahead, it's technically like they're going to be 16 hours behind.
Yeah, so 8 hours ahead.
So it's like 6 a.m. there now.
Okay, all right. So the FPO division will probably be teeing off in the middle of the night here. You'll be able to catch probably the end of the FPO division if you wake up early enough, and then the MPO division will probably tee off around breakfast time, whatever time that is. It's a bit of a vague time, but anyway, about breakfast time, and we'll go into sort of mid-morning, I suspect.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm just sitting here and I'm just like, oh yeah, and like you have Devin, like Devin has breakfast at weird hours of morning.
Yeah, everybody will.
Like,
Everybody has breakfast with us. Anyway, that's us for this week. So thank you for watching, and wherever you're playing disc golf, play well, take it easy, get some birdies, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.